Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Doing Real Estate Smart, real estate education for common buyers and sellers. My name is Rick, and in this episode we're going to be covering the process of purchasing a home. So when it comes down to purchasing a home, the processes can be very different depending on what type of real estate you're purchasing. So in this specific scenario, I'm going to be covering the steps to purchase a residential home, say a single family home or a townhome or a condo. And I'm going to keep the scenario simple where we don't hit all these weird different dilemmas and challenges along the way. We're going to go ahead and assume that the process is smooth and simple and we don't hit any of these weird things that can definitely happen when you're in the process of purchasing a home. Okay, so let's start. The first thing you're gonna be needing to be a realtor. So if you're a first-time home buyer, or if you're an individual who doesn't have a lot of experience and knowledge when it comes down to real estate, I highly recommend hiring a realtor. They are basically there with the experience to guide you and help you throughout the process, but they're also there to negotiate for you and write the contracts for you and to do all these other things for you. And especially when it comes down to when you hit challenges and dilemmas, they're right there to handle those problems for you, instead of you having to try to figure these things out, especially when you have no experience in how to do these types of things. So that's the first step. You find yourself a realtor that you like. I did actually create a video on how to choose a realtor. Go ahead and check that video out. I give you 3 basic criteria that you look for in a realtor, and based on those 3 things, you go end up finding a realtor that you can actually work with and like. The second step will be getting a pre-qualification. This will require you to actually speak to a lender. A lender will then give you an amount, a dollar amount of how much you can actually qualify for. You don't have to use the full amount, but you know that that's the maximum you can actually borrow from the lender. So once you have that, you have a good idea of what price range you can actually go out and shop for homes, which is the next step. You start looking for a home and you find yourself a home that you like and you can afford. Once you find a home that you like and you can afford, you and your realtor go ahead and set up an offer and you submit that to the seller. So once you submit that to the seller can do one of 3 things. They can accept it, they can counter offer, or they can basically decline it. So usually what happens, if the seller somewhat likes your offer, they'll go ahead and throw you a counter offer. And so this can happen back and forth a few times until you and the seller end up finding like a middle ground where you both like the contract, and therefore once you do, you two sign the contract and you're in the process of purchasing your home. You're under contract. So in that contract, there are several things that need to happen in order for the purchase of the home to be complete. The first thing is going to be the earnest money. So the earnest money is a set amount of money that is determined by the seller and the listing agent. So usually between $1,500 to $3,000, or it can definitely be more than that. So these funds are paid by you, the buyer, and this check or money order is sent to the title company. The title company acts as a middleman. They have an escrow account or a trust fund account where they put these funds in, and they're just held there. Now, what is the purpose of these funds? It's 2 things. One, it shows the seller that you are very committed to purchasing the home, which is why you put these funds up front. So they want to make sure you have some skin in the game. Does that make sense? The second thing that it does, it protects the seller as well. So in the case where you say you break the contract, the seller is then entitled to those funds. Does that make sense? Now, just a side note about that, if you have a good realtor, you're not going to end up breaking the contract in any way. The realtor will keep you on top of those deadlines, and if you ever have to extend any of these deadlines, that's too simple to do. The realtor would end up doing that for you. Does that make sense? So the next step after that would be getting the home inspected. So what you would end up doing is hiring an inspector to come out to the home and do a very thorough inspection of the electric, the plumbing, the furnace. They'll check the water heater, they'll check the roof, they can do extra stuff as they can scope the main sewer line of the home to ensure that there's no damage in there or any cloggage in there. They can also check on, they can do radon and a few other things as well. So they do that. They end up setting up a whole report of everything they found, everything that worked and everything that didn't work. So as you and your realtor go over that report, you and the realtor end up setting up the inspection objection. So this inspection objection is a list of things that were damaged or weren't working in the home or that had issues that you would want the seller to fix before you end up purchasing the home. Does that make sense? So you set that up and then you submit that to the seller. The seller then ends up going through that list and deciding what they're going to fix and what they're not going to fix, and then they submit to you an inspection resolution. So you can do a few things there. You can, one, accept it. Two, you can go ahead and like counter it and be like, okay, I understand you can't fix these things, but can you fix this and this on top of that? So things like that, you can go ahead and negotiate until you kind of find a middle ground. Or you can be like, okay, well, since the seller isn't willing to fix anything, I'm going to go ahead and pull out of the contract. So those are the three options you have there, right? Usually you guys come to a nice little middle ground where the seller will end up at least fixing the main things they should fix. So there's that. So the other part of the contract, the other part of the process is the loan approval. So prior to going under contract, you got a pre-approval, and then once you go into contract, that's when they start collecting all the paperwork, doing the application, doing everything they need to do to go ahead and process your loan and get you approved for the loan. So all this paperwork is taken and packaged into a nice little package and then submitted to the underwriter, who then reviews the package, your loan package, and they end up determining whether you qualify or don't qualify for the loan. All right. Usually that's pretty much everything the buyer really needs to do. When it comes down to the end of the contract, when you're getting closer and closer to the closing is where you actually sit down and sign all the paperwork and make it official. It's your home. You do a final walkthrough through the home with your realtor. So the final walkthrough is basically you go through the entire home to make sure that everything that the seller said was going to fix was actually fixed. And so you kind of confirm all those things, and you see that the home itself is in the same quality it was, when you first did when you had for the first showing done to you. So, and you don't walk in there and you see that all the carpet was removed, or they removed the light fixtures, or things like that. If that's the case, then obviously there's an issue. But that's what the final walkthrough is all about. After that, you go to closing. Closing is pretty basic. You have a representative of the title company who's basically acting as a notary, who's processing all the paperwork, who has all the paperwork organized right in front of them, and they kind of hand you all the paperwork that you need to sign and all the paperwork that the seller needs to sign. So you're there for a while. Usually you're there with your realtor, and the seller's there with their realtor. Sometimes the lender will be there. Sometimes, if you have an attorney that you want present there as well, they can be there, or the seller can have their attorney. So once that's all complete, once everything's signed, the purchase of the home is complete and you are a homeowner. Does that make sense? I know it's kind of a long process, and I kept it as simple as I possibly can. There could be so many other things that go on there, and I only covered the buyer's side. I'm going to be doing another video where I cover the seller's side, so stay tuned for that. And then Other than that, hopefully that kind of clarified it for you, especially if you're a first-time home buyer. Hopefully this answered a lot of your questions that you may have, and you may probably have more questions for me. If you do, feel free to put those questions down below. Any comments, feel free to leave those as well. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you want to go ahead and subscribe for future videos, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and that bell button as well. You get notifications of all the future videos that I'm going to be doing. Again, this is Doing Real Estate Smart, real estate education for common buyers and sellers. This channel is designed to inform just basic people who have very little knowledge to no knowledge about real estate on these topics of real estate, such as this one and many, many more. So feel free to check out the channels. If you actually go to the description below, I have a Facebook page, I have a website as well. On the website and on the Facebook page, I have all these, have tons of other pieces of information that would be useful for you in real estate. If you need real estate services, I'm a real estate agent out here in Colorado Springs. I'll be happy to help you and serve you. Again, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time.